Let's talk about what the cops are doing. We got this story from Timcast.com. Police seize fuel and supplies from protesters in Ottawa Freedom Convoy. Multiple vehicles and fuel have been seized, police said, as they extend their efforts to end the Freedom Convoy. Basically, they're now saying anybody who brings in fuel is going to be aiding them. It's illegal. Anybody who provides material support. And there's even an insinuation by Trudeau that Americans are interfering and they want to look into where this funding is coming from. Well, I don't know what Canada is going to be able to do to an American who gave $5 on Give, Send, Go. I just don't see them pulling anything off. But yo, how insane is this getting? They declared a state of emergency in Ottawa. You know, I saw a story, I don't know if it's true, that Ottawa cops are exempt from the vaccine mandates. This is how they play the game. The enforcers get special access. It's like the Hunger Games, man.
Wow.
Yeah. No, nothing to say. No way.
Oh, geez, so much to say. How do I even start to
formulate? Take it all in.
Every now and again,
everyone
talks
talks the same.
Every now and again, it's kind of like a Mexican standoff here. We're looking around, who's going to say something first? I don't want to interrupt.
This is the thing about how do you talk about civil disobedience? Like, okay, what they're doing is civilly illegal, probably illegal. What the hell does that even mean? Illegal.
Well,
like,
what was crazy to me was seeing like the brand account for the Ottawa Police Department like cheering on GoFundMe's decision to take this money away from the truckers. You have like this unholy alliance of like the government, law enforcement, big corporations, and then you have this like you have these who are just like taking away the rights of working class people. And, we complain about a lot about that in America, but man, like it's crazy.
Yeah.
Like the Ottawa police just cheering this on.
Isn't there a word for that? When the government and big corporations
starts with
are working together to control.
Yeah, there's a word. Yeah.
Something like
fascism.
that.
Something like
fascism.
The F word.
The F word, yeah. I think you're thinking about the F word.
Yeah, so earlier you mentioned how Canadian media is basically controlled by the government. One thing I find very disturbing is that with the United States media, we do have media which is controlled by private corporations, but honestly, can you imagine it acting all that differently if it was controlled and regulated by the government? They continually cheer for bigger government. They insult people and they smear them for calling for more freedom and calling for the restrictions the government imposes upon the average person to end. And when you look at the situation in Canada, like I mentioned, it's clear that our private media is more sympathetic to their state media in Canada and the views that they hold than they are to the views of the actual people of our country or theirs.
Bro, there's no mask anymore. It's funny when
the mask mandate is over.
No, I mean the figurative mask that we ever assumed the media was on our side. I'm done having that conversation. It's been 10 years. Anybody who still thinks the media is telling the truth is probably lying to you, to be completely honest. Like, even regular people, when you ask them, like, the press rates abysmally low in terms of credibility. There was this funny poll from a few years ago, and it was like, who do you trust? Like, how much trust do you give these institutions? And the press was on the bottom at like 17%.
When, what's his name? Glenn Greenwald got booted out of The Intercept. That was a big, like, red light for me. It's that structure of that old media thing doesn't work anymore. You can't be honest in that situation because there's too many corporate donors trying to get a hold of you and your money.
Yeah. So like, it's not even that just that they're biased to one side of the political aisle. They're beholden to corporate interests, a lot of these media outlets. And a lot of the time, obviously, as we said before, there's this unholy alliance between government in America and big corporations. And the media is a part of that. You have like an institution like the Washington Post that's owned by the second richest man in the world.
Yeah.
And, obviously their coverage is going to not reflect the views of, people working class people in Ohio or working class truckers speaking out against these mandates. They support all these things.
You know how I see it? I'm like thinking about the media, and it reminds me of those movie tropes where it's like there's a wife and then her husband runs up and she has a gun and he's like, honey, it's me, put down the gun. And then all of a sudden another like clone of her husband runs up the other side. He's like, no, I'm your real husband. And she's like, I don't know which one is real. I don't know where that trope came from, like the original movie. But it feels like there's like a normie, regular American sitting on their couch and we run in and we're like, we're telling you the truth. We're challenging the lies. And then, Brian Salter runs in and he goes, don't listen to them. We're the truth. They're telling you lies.
That's exactly
how
it
I
works.
feel sorry for you. It's true, and I think it's funny because for years and years, right after Trump was elected, the narrative was, everything was fine. People trusted the media. We had a great relationship with the public, and then old DT came along and made him hate us with all of his rhetoric about how bad the media is.
it
It's
was
like,
before.
well, no, you guys were already pretty terrible. And mostly politicians were willing to bend the knee to you. And then one came around who wasn't. And it opened your eyes to how unpopular you are. Because the reason most people, or at the very least many people, were cheering for Donald Trump was because you hated him and he hated you. And that meant that he was more on your side than theirs. And I just love to see their narrative crumble with each turn. You're sort of talking about how Canada is much more authoritarian than the U.S., but the fact that the people of that country have formed literally the largest convoy that we have ever been aware of in human history to protest their government's mandates is really incredible. It's a giant white pill.
There was a big convoy of diesel trucks about 1,000 years ago.
Yes, of course. No, I understand
From
that somewhat. I understand. I understand it's a more recent
look.
phenomenon with the trucks, but also the largest convoy before this was like 5 miles.
5 miles.
And now this is 45 miles.
Donald Trump demonized and attacked the media because people hate them.
Yes.
Because people got access to the internet and it was like the knowledge was beamed down to the people. And then all of a sudden they were like, hey, wait a minute. They're lying to us about everything. And then Trump was like, that's right. Trump is a symptom of, not the creator of.
Yeah.
But of course, the media is now saying Donald Trump, he started all of this.
In 2007, I was doing YouTube videos a lot, and I was getting real political. I was like, we need direct to the politician now. We have internet video. We don't need Secret Service. Putin and Barack Obama could get on a video chat and just talk, hang out and chill. I could get on a video chat with Barack. No security issues. We could just chat. So we need that more. And I was telling it to YouTube, and the people at the YouTube corporate headquarters was listening, and they were like, yeah, let's do YouTube debates. So they created this thing, but then CNN get in on it. And they were like, no, we're going to do the CNN YouTube debates. And we're going
Really?
to water down all your questions. So I asked Barack, like, what's up with the Federal Reserve? Why do we have this system in place that's been creating interest? And I was talking about fractional reserve, and they didn't air it. They wouldn't air that. They aired all these softball questions. So
course.
CNN was the second
That's
guy, and he's like,
fascinating.
no, I'm your husband.
Ian, what was his response to that?
He didn't answer.
Barack?
They didn't
Yeah.
air it.
He didn't hear
Oh,
that
he didn't
question.
even hear it.
Yeah,
Okay,
they
so
didn't air it.
so you're saying CNN didn't give him the question. I thought you
Correct.
had an opportunity to digitally ask the questions and they cut
Remember,
it later.
sent
remember
it
they
in.
did those town
Okay.
halls and all
Yeah,
of the
of course
people in
they
the town
did.
hall turned out to be Democrat operatives
Yeah.
or activists or whatever.
And I mean, who's
Rigged, man.
And who's surprised by it? Even the presidential debates, when they actually have their quote unquote opposition across from them, it's just a press conference anyway. The person throws their slogans out there, and then their opponent throws their slogans out there.
Yeah, but did you hear Republicans are now going to boycott the Commission on Debates? So
Really?
there's probably not going to be a debate unless the Democrats come to them for a debate.
This idea of a debate also bothers me. Now we're at a place where you can pop on Skype or whatever and video chat Monday through Friday from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. with you, whoever you want, and everyone can watch. Come on, 21st century.
Yeah,
You know-
like,
go
like
ahead.
shows like this one like have really changed the game. And like, we're going to talk about Joe Rogan soon. It's like, shows like yours, shows like Rogan's, shows like Tucker Carlson's that draw all of these eyeballs because they don't bend to institutional powers in corporate media are a threat to those. And obviously you've been targeted with cancel culture, and obviously the cancel culture knives have come out for Joe Rogan and Tucker Carlson. And the only reason for it is because instead of telling the truth, these institutional powers have now chosen that they're gonna pressure corporations to censor their opposition.
Do you notice a lot of corporate interference when you're working with like just candidacy and like positioning your candidates on social media and stuff? Do you feel like pushback from corporations while you're doing it? Do you have to navigate through that kind of thing?
Well, I mean, no, because we wouldn't really work with anybody who is so beholden to corporate powers. Like we're a company of 7 people, and we would never do that. And what really sucks is that like there are a lot of members of Congress that I'm sure most Republicans probably like and respect a lot, who take a lot of money from big tech and take a lot of money from part of the reason.
I think he's asking if with the candidates you work with, are they being censored and shut down?
Oh yeah, we have to face that all the time, and it's on. So one of the clients that we work with is American Principles Project. Shout out to Terry Schilling and John Schweppe. And before we worked with them, this happened during the last election cycle, but they had their Facebook demonetized because they ran an ad in Michigan that opposed biological men in women's sports. And the way Facebook works is, in order to get a fact checker actually has to write a fact check of your thing. So and obviously the fact checkers are complete liars, like these PolitiFact and Snopes of the world.
Yeah.
But so a fact checker wrote a fact check on an ad that opposed biological men in women's sports, and they got their Facebook account demonetized for that. And so it's stuff like that happens all the time.
It's remarkable that we're in an amalgam of all these different dystopian novels. It's like all of these writers could see a piece but not the whole, because in this instance it's very The fact checkers are keeping us from knowing things. The major corporations are, stifling free enterprise. It's like the inversion of everything. War is peace, et cetera, et cetera. Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to watch live, you can check out this channel Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, and if you want more unfiltered and uncensored content with all of these guests, go to timcast.com and become a member. All of these guests you know and love in exclusive segments on our website where we are unrestricted in what we talk about, so you'll definitely not want to miss it. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you all next time.